In wild space, no one can hear you scream. GameMasters here, and wow, we are so close to hitting our 2,000 subscriber mark, but I can't wait to give away some goodies. So, that's what this video is going to contain. Freebies that I've created that you can have for free, or pay what you want. I've got multiple things to give out, and as I mention them, I'll explain where to find them. This past week, I did something that I've never done before. I took 5 random players that I had never DM'd before with and ran them through a one-shot. And I gotta tell you, it was beyond fun. And yeah, you guessed it, 2 of the freebies are the stats for the Xenomorph and the Predator, as seen in the thumbnail for this video. But more of those in a moment. The adventure itself is an old one that I've run for various groups in the past. Although it's never really been a one-shot, it's part of a much larger campaign. But the elements in it worked perfectly for this one-shot. DJ Vu, a longtime friend and fellow D&D player, was among the first to encounter this inn, the Broken Arrow Inn, back in 1996. For last week's one-shot, I updated it a bit. The original Broken Arrow Inn took place in a remote section of the Forgotten Realms and was run by a large group of vampires, although the adventurers were not really aware of this. They would find themselves running across this inn just as day was turning to dusk. Entering the Broken Arrow Inn, they see really nothing unusual, just various patrons seeming to have a grand time. A dancer is on stage, bards play music, ale is flowing, and as dusk turned to pitch black outside, the ale flows even stronger. The patrons of the Broken Arrow Inn would reveal themselves as vampires and attack in a bloodbath of a scenario. Yes, this was, well, and still is, heavily inspired from the Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez movie From Dusk Till Dawn. I've run this several times in various campaigns over the years, but this past week, I updated it just a bit for Spelljammer. Breaks down like this. The players found themselves in the field on the Rock of Brawl, as found in Spelljammer, and an inn with a simple wooden sign on a post hung nearby that advertised it as being the Broken Arrow Inn. Our 5 adventurers were Ios, a human cleric, Pegasus, a human druid, Un the Fierce, a human barbarian, Skip, a human cleric, and Mim, a tiefling blood hunter. Each player randomly picked a pre-generated character from a pool of about 14 different options and randomly gathered around one of 4 different tables. Now, I mentioned this at the top of the video that I had some free things to give out. The first one is my custom-made party tracker, and I'll leave a link to it down below in the description. And I've got 2 versions. You'll get both of them in the download pack. But this thing comes in very handy when I'm running any given game. It's got your basics of information and is really designed just to be a quick glance for tracking what the party stats are at any given moment. The 5 players enter the Broken Arrow Inn, and little do they know that it is run by vampirates. But these vampirates are not out for a bloodbath like their Forgotten Realms counterparts. Instead, these guys are attempting to learn information from the adventurers as to where they've been, what treasure they've seen, and where their ship is docked at, so that they can kind of go plunder it. With this being a one-shot adventure, we had about 2 hours, and I gave them each notice at the start of the Dungeons & Dragons game that the rules themselves were going to be used loose and fast, as I wanted to provide a non-stop, crazy, off-the-wall game session where anything could happen. Such as, if you're enjoying this video, I humbly ask that you give it a thumbs up. It actually triggers part of that YouTube algorithm and helps to recommend my videos out there to others, and I thank you kindly for that. Now, some of the vampires in the inn took off in search of the player's ship, although the party never really found that part of it out. And ultimately, a bar brawl broke out. At the end of the brawl, a section of the inn was discovered to contain a hidden passage that led down. Now, here I have 2 more goodies to give away. The first being the map of the Broken Arrow Inn itself. It measures, when printed, 11 inches by 17 inches, and it is under the stage here that the passage opens up, leading to what I call the Endless Dungeon. Another freebie. Again, links to those are listed down below in the description. The Endless Dungeon is a fun little thing that the DM can have go on for multiple levels or just run 1 or 2 levels deep. It is designed to be a full-on dungeon delve hack and slash, has lots of hazards, various trapped chests, challenging monsters to fight, and of course, treasure. Our 5 adventurers made their way down, and Mim found a Horn of Blasting as a random magic item within one of the chests. Another found a spell that would triple every party member's damage output. Now, both perhaps were a bit overpowered, but again, this being a one-shot, I figured anything goes. At this point, about an hour of our 2-hour one-shot time had passed, so I kept the Endless Dungeon descent to just 2 levels before they found themselves in a massive labyrinth. I've always envisioned the Rock of Brawl to have an inner underground area, and this labyrinth seemed very fitting to fit deep inside this drifting asteroid. And soon, the players run across the next freebie item, a Xenomorph. A Xeno what? Yeah, a monster from that movie. I've got a few different stat blocks that I've created for these guys over the years, but this one is just the basic, a drone. It's not overpowered, especially for a party of 5, but I did toss about 12 Xenomorphs at the players. We had a fun little Scooby-Doo chase back and forth in the labyrinth until the players found themselves at this room, in which were a bunch of bleached skulls, while one player found themselves in a treasure room full of gold. Then they heard some faint clicking. Turning around, they found this. Yeah, as I mentioned, anything goes. And with this one shot taking place on the Rock of Brawl in the middle of the wild space, I figured, why not? Oh, and the stats for the Predator are free as well. Also, again, links for them are going to be down in the description. As we neared our 2-hour mark, our crafty adventurers made use of the spell that increased their damage, and the Horn of Blasting was used. Sadly, a roll of 16 was made, and it exploded. And because damage was increased by 3 times, the explosion caused 30d6 fire damage. However, one adventurer, Skip, survived, gathering up as much gold as they could carry and set out to find a way to resurrect the fallen party. In the end, we all had fun. It was a crazy 3 steps off the map adventure with crazy dice rolls, multiple damage, vampirates, aliens, a predator, oh, and a zombified Tyrannosaurus Rex. Yeah, we had a zombie T-Rex in there too. Aside from all the goodies to give away, to say thank you for helping me get to 2,000 subscribers, I also wanted to do a video that had a simple message, and that is, don't be afraid to break the rules every now and again, and just go crazy. Use your imagination. Have fun. Go off the wall with that fun. Now, that's not to say that adhering to the rules as written can't be fun. It can. But sometimes it's perfectly a-okay to just cut loose and go crazy. Now, once we do hit 2,000 subscribers, and I anticipate that this week, I've got an even bigger surprise for one of you. What is it? Well, you'll have to stick around and find out. Normally, I'd post up here a video that relates to our topic, but today I'm going to let the YouTube algorithm decide what they think is the next video that might interest you. Tell me in the comments below, are you going to incorporate a Xenomorph or a Predator or both into a future D&D session? Know too that you can always beef up their stats if you need to. Let me know what you plan to do with these space-dwelling creatures, and until next our paths cross, try not to nuke the Rock of Brawl from orbit.